Yep, go ahead. You're on.
Welcome to Farm Club Community. My name is Sat.
Peace, my name is Christian, and we're here to present to you the NFT and blockchain and crypto workshop here at Fairmont Innovation Lab.
Now, the first thing about the digital universe that we have, Farm Club Community, it's a networking. We're connecting artists, entrepreneurs, and community members together to actually create a universe that we want to own, create, establish, and innovate. Within the digital universe, the FC universe space is to create more experiences and thrive in a virtual reality world. Now, in the education portion, we're going to bridge the gap between the technology, the art, and spirituality to combine as one, so that we all can be on one accord and create this lovely world that we're trying to go into. Now, the currency portion, it's pretty much we're going to the digital coins because the old currency is going to another step. We're actually innovating. We're actually going. Everything is going to be digital pretty soon. So we're going into this space where it's a whole new currency, and we're just going to live and learn and grow together. Now, the next Y2K is Web 3.0, the next Y2K. Personally, it is. You see the way that things are headed. The previous webs, it was just an evolution of it. It's a new portion that they're adding to it. It's a decentralized form of the internet where users become the owners. Decentralized just pretty means that you don't need a third party. You don't need a middleman pretty much to step in between the agreement that you're making between the buyer and the seller. Now, once you get on, we're going to explain the blockchain and things like that later, but the users, they will be able to verify who has ownership of certain NFTs, and that's how you'll be able to establish things through your wallet.
Now, with Y2K, we went into the Web 2.0 and we're going into 3.0. What are the things that are going to be accessible on this Web 3.0? Like, what are we going to be shifting to and changing, such as like, you know, the URLs, like what's going to be different on this platform?
Now, with the difference on the platform, what we're doing necessarily, it's going to be the ownership. It's the main difference with the Web3. Now, we can get into that a little bit later, but with the ownership, it's going to create more of a establishment and a trust between the buyer and the seller, so that they could see exactly what this person owns and how it translates and transfers over into your wallet.
A major difference is what I was looking for is between 2.0 and 3.0 is actually that your URL, such as your domain name that you have, www.yourbusiness or yourname.com, is now completely owned by you once you purchase this. There's no longer a monthly payment, a yearly payment, and something that you have to continuously keep purchasing. Once you have it, it's yours to keep, and you can do whatever you so please on that domain.
Exactly. And that's where we get into that portion as far as that goes, and it's just showing the differences between the webs. With Web 1.0, we all know when it first started, it was just the ability to read online. People are just posting blogs and things like that. You're able to click on those links, just read exactly what they were posting. Then we moved to the Web 2.0. With the Web 2.0 is the ability to read, interact, and respond. So you're able to add comments to people's blogs, start chat rooms and things like that, and just evolve to the next level. And then with the Web 3.0, that's where they're pretty much just putting into the ownership portion. And with the ownership portion, this is just an example, like on our page. This is from OpenSea. Once you purchase it, it actually shows who has the ownership, which you'll see at the bottom, who owns it, how many times it's been transferred throughout the wallets, and it just gives you a better clarity of the transactions that's actually happening on Web 3.0.
Basically, it's a lot more honest and open in terms of what kind of information is provided, and there's no blocks between the people that are distributing and trading between a product or a service. So it's blockchain.
That's where we get to blockchain. Blockchain is pretty much just an algorithm. It's a database that's shared throughout computers. It pings from one computer to the next. So it pretty much makes it harder to hack, um, and pretty much impossible to hack. Throughout this algorithm, it's well-defined steps, so it's predetermined as far as the results. So you actually see exactly which one is headed towards, and it's not going to be interrupted by anything outside of where the computer networks are sending. And then we get into the popular types of cryptocurrencies. Everybody knows a Bitcoin. A lot of people are starting to learn about Ethereum. The new up and coming cryptocurrencies that's offered with the NFT network space, Solana and Polygon. Me personally, I use Polygon with a lot of the things, and Ethereum. Um, like I said, once you get on the marketplace, once you start to learn to sell NFTs, buy NFTs and things like that, you'll start to see those tags next to the NFT. So you'll know which cryptocurrency you're using to actually make the purchase, and it goes about the percentage or the actual value of that cryptocurrency or what it's currently valued at, and that's how you can determine how much you're going to spend on between the NFTs.
So I asked the question, is there more room? So my question is, what can we all create a coin? Is that feasible in our community? What about our government? Are they going to create a coin? There's a lot of talks about that. I'm not sure if you want to go into that, but you know, I would like for people to understand that this doesn't separate you from having ownership or creativity and design in this space. This is open. It's basically open floor, open blueprint. So this is a space where if you're looking to learn, you can challenge yourself if you want to create a coin, but understand like what is it backed by? How is it going to support the economy? What's the longevity behind it? And so that's why breaking these down allows you to see. So for instance, we all know Bitcoin. That was the most popular one. However, Bitcoin is not used when it's trading NFTs. That's not the space that you're going to use it. You're going to see more of Ethereum and these other brands or coins, so to speak. So that's a question that I would love for people to chime in and suggest or even ask questions about that.
Next, we're getting into the crypto wallets. Crypto wallets is just pretty much your wallet. It's going to be where you store your information as far as your cryptocurrency, how much you have. It shows the link to your URL link so you can know where to send the money. These are some of the most popular crypto wallets that's on the market currently. You have Coinbase, MetaMask, Exodus, Crypto.com, but once you get on, they pretty much all work the same, and that's where you have the public keys. Your public keys, just for example, is like your bank account number. It just allows you to send, receive, and trade cryptocurrency. Then you get into your private keys. That's your password. It's a 12 to 24 word phrase. What they give you, you have to remember this information. Do not share it with anyone. This is the only way to unlock your account if you forget your password. So put it in a safe space, write it down. They have notebooks that specialize for it with ghost pens and things like that that you can look into, but make sure that you keep this information to yourself and don't share your actual private keys with anyone.
My question is, so what happens if you lose your keys at any point? What happens if you forget where you stored this? What do we go about that?
Well, that's where we were talking about just different ways for you to find ways to store it on. They have hard drives. They have different types of hard drives that's available. They have
such as like
encryption keys and things like that actually you can store your phase codes and privacy, your passwords within that, and you don't have to worry about writing it down or anything like that. Just keep that hard drive near you. Next, we're getting into NFTs. NFTs means non-fungible tokens. It's just a certificate and authenticity to the assets, like your domain names, music, art, pictures, and other utilities that you have access to within the space. And the special thing about the NFTs, no two NFTs are the same. You have the fungible tokens. They can be replaced, which are like the dollars, bitcoins, and things like that. It could be exchanged for the exact same thing. But with NFTs, it makes it special because the community actually creates the value. So once your community grows, the value of your artwork or whatever you're selling as an NFT, it grows with it. So the value continues to grow, and as long as the brand grows.
So for instance, when you said multiple copies, so what would be an example of someone getting an NFT that someone else has, and you're saying that it's backed, you have a completely different, what would it be, a token code, essentially, would be separate to each individual. If I had tickets to an NFL game for an NFT, and someone else got the same NFT, they have a completely different code, and they can sell that and reshare it on their own Discord.
Correct. Next, we're stepping into the metaverse. This is the 3D virtual world, which you can play, socialize, collaborate, learn with other people that's actually using different ways of actually doing it with the Oculus glasses, the Sony VR glasses. HP has their own, Snapchat are releasing their own, but it's just a version of an immersive 3D world where you just get on, you could play with your friends, you could actually work now within it, you can earn money. We're gonna get into the play to earn games and things like that later, but it's a new virtual world where you can buy real estate, you can learn, share. It's pretty much an open world like Sims, where you can create an avatar and things like that, dress it, and just keep going. And it's endless as far as the capabilities that's to come.
Yeah, so here we're probably gonna take a little 5-minute break so that you can, I'm asking for you to challenge yourself on what could a world look like for you? What would this virtual reality look like for you? What would be available in this space? How would it look? What would be needed in this present life that we're currently in? If there's something that you don't see here or that you enjoy here, it needs to be in this space, you know what I mean? So it's all new. It's basically, think of a blank map, so to speak, and you have the discretion to add and take away whatever you so please. So metaverse is just that's a name, that's a brand. So you can look up who is running and owning the brand, in a couple of companies that we all know are Facebook, Google, and what's the gaming company, Epic or EA? Epic. So these are companies that are branding and banding together and creating this virtual reality, essentially. So that doesn't mean, so for instance, we have FC Universe, and for us, we want to create our own virtual reality, our own home, our own space where we can create the types of environments we're looking to have. So I'm challenging the community to question what kind of space they want. If that's a safe space, do they find themselves being able to thrive in this space? Don't just think that metaverse is the only home. You know what I mean? You can create your own home, or you can build a bunch of different communities with other people and create your own digital universe. So, and it can be called whatever you so please. And to challenge that is questioning, how can these worlds link? Could I make FC Universe and link it to metaverse, and you take a trip, a ferry or a boat, whatever, in this virtual reality, and I go take a trip and I go land over here. So there's a lot to see and learn within this space. So we're gonna take a mini break, and we're gonna show you what is going to be on the metaverse and how you can implement those different features. So we'll start to look at some questions and we'll come back to you. Boom, boom. I wish I can talk to people. Peace. So since we're also very live, and most of you guys are online, we want to skip over that because everyone can take a break. Obviously, this is the power of virtual reality. So we're going to continue on and show you the ways that you can create this metaverse and what's going to come later in our lives. Like, what's the feasibility of having these digital currency, and what's that going to mean to people who are disenfranchised or don't have access to these types of tools, such as a computer, a TV, a smartphone, and so forth. So the next slide is, what's the reasons for NFT? The reasons for NFTs can be creativity, longevity, and exclusivity. So this is bringing the power back into the artist. It's creating a system and a timeline of value, so to speak. So in the creativity aspect, we have an appreciation for the art. We're able to not commodify, but create the worthiness and value that art is being made through. And then it shows the lineage of this art, where it comes from, but also who has touched, seen, and enjoyed this piece of artwork. Represents a status symbol. Now you're going to be able to have essentially a piece of your favorite artist, or a piece of an experience or a time in history, so to speak. Longevity, you make a profit. This is something that you can pass on and have residual income. We're gonna get into the legalities of things and that sort. So when you're able to make a profit, a lot of artists don't like to handle the business side of art. They don't want to deal with the idea that their art is transactional, or there's an opportunistic aspect to their art. So this is providing them a way where it's almost essentially left out into the ether for people to, that's why the community of NFT is so huge. It allows the community to tell you how they feel about your art, and then continue on that legacy of your art without you really being involved, as long as you have your smart contracts involved. And we're gonna get into what those things mean. It supports a cause or the creator. And most often times when you're supporting a creator, you also are supporting a cause, because the creator in itself is representing a cause. Art in itself is basically an emotion of creativity of what a lived experience is through each individual or community is experiencing. And lastly is exclusivity. So you're joining a community, you're joining a group of people, an energy of, so to speak, of what someone's creating, and allowing to connect with individuals that share the same ideas with you, or share the same interests and creativities. And you can gain access to insider knowledge, rare drops, and etc. So the exclusivity part of NFTs allows you to basically know who your real supporters are, who your real fans are, who your real, your tribe is, and make sure you're dedicating to those who really, really care about your work and what you're offering to the community. And that's where the bread and butter is. It's in the building of community. You can't really have an amazing NFT and there's no one who knows about it, and there's no one who's really vying for you and representing you. So the exclusivity part is really dope about it, because now you're not wasting your energy on just anyone. Now you're dedicating exactly to your core group of people, and you know what they like. It's basically knowing your demographic. It's knowing your market research. It's knowing your essentials, essentially. So
Now we get into the difference between the types of NFTs that's available. You do have your one-on-ones. With your one-on-ones, it's just that piece only. With that, it becomes rare, very rare to own this piece, and the value of those pieces tend to be more valuable than the collectibles. The collectibles are normally serial numbered, so it's 1 to 10, 1 to 100, 1 to 1,000. You see some that goes to 8,000, things like that. With those, once they sell out, that's it. And that's when the resale value of them goes up, because once they get the buzz and the community starts to want more of it, those, once they sell out, that's it. And you have to go back and resell and buy it from someone that actually was there from the beginning, which is great to get in the NFT projects when they first start, because later on the value is going to continue to grow long as the brand is growing.
So can you explain some of these artwork pieces that are available?
Some of the artwork pieces we have here are just, as people know, like we have trading cards. Trading cards have been around forever. Now you can go to different websites and things like that, and you can purchase the digital version of the trading cards. You can actually buy packs, or you can buy the cards individually once people pull the packs and get the cards out of the packs. You do have your generative art NFTs, which is like the one that's in the middle. This is AI controlled and based, where you could just type in prompt words and things like that, and it'll actually create the image for you. And it'll already be modified and ready and edited for you to actually post for an NFT space. Then you have the profile pictures, which a lot of people know of the Bored Ape Yacht Club and things like that. A lot of celebrities are using it on their Twitter avatars and things. So the value of it actually goes up once you get celebrities and more people with followers actually start to use the art. And you also have your private drops and things like that, like she mentioned. And these are personally some of the NFTs that we've created for the FC Universe, and they're going to be on sale very soon.
So in-game NFTs, digital real estate. I would say I was the sim head. I would be on Sims probably for 18 hours straight. So it's interesting to be here in my life as an adult and see that what I was creating and diving into essentially is now becoming my next world. So if anybody was a Sims head, we knew you had honestly a complete control. You were essentially playing God in a sense, where you were dictating what people were doing, dressing, feeling, all of that. You knew all the cheat codes and things like that to make the massive, your world of your dreams essentially, and which is what I was talking about in the metaverse, which metaverse is just the brand. You can create your own digital universe. So digital real estate is something that we want to go into depth, but we're just going to give a overlying a compass of it, where if you think about it now, we were etched out of a lot of land ownership. Some of it was literally taken. So to now have a space where we can have ownership once again, or create a space that we didn't necessarily feel in our present space. Imagine if you now had a lucrative real estate space and it's thriving and it's doing well in this digital universe. You now have the currency and the ability to navigate in your present flesh life. So it's not something we're not going to a place where it's going to separate us and we're going to only be digital and we're all going to be locked into our screens. If you can think about it in a more broad space, everything that you've seen so far as an NFT has some sort of backing of something that's relatable and present in your current world. Like when sports card is something tangible, it's physical, or NFL tickets that's linked as a utility to an artwork is tangible. A sweatshirt of a digital art, an animation that you received and you bought is physical. So everything that you see in this digital world, understand that it has to go back to the origination, which is present life, which is physical life. So digital real estate is a great way for all of us basically to get back into the world of ownership and becoming our own landlord, so to speak. So we're going to get into a space where we can interact, we can sell, we can build, we can literally create our own world, our oyster. So,
and right now, the digital real estate is one of the hottest markets that's available in the NFT market.
Yeah.
Like for instance, Snoop Dogg actually has a house, and everyone wants to be Snoop Dogg's neighbor within the metaverse or within the digital universe. So the properties that's around his house in the digital universe, the value of it skyrocket, just because he actually purchased a digital home within the universe. And just more celebrities, more people are starting to back it, athletes and things like that. And as it grows, the value of this real estate property is going to continue to grow as well.
You had a question? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just asking about digital real estate and it being relevant. I know that sounds a little harsh, but it's very interesting to me.
Yeah.
I'm learning more about NFTs and the metaverse, but I'm just asking, is it this relevant?
I wouldn't say it's relevant right in this moment, but if we're always the ones etched out because we're not educated or we're not present in those spaces, then we're gonna miss out on when it does become relevant. So what this is, so to speak, showing is like all the things that are popping open, and digital real estate is one of the things that's going to be very popular because it's being created as we speak, which is the metaverse, which is just top brand companies creating a whole virtual reality. But if we're not educated on this being a possibility, then nobody's gonna know that that's even something that they can get involved in and make investments in and receive value from. So.
And another thing that they're doing, they're creating pretty much the layouts of cities. So within shopping centers and things like that, you can actually go there, work for them, and purchase things within those cities. Just because that person owns the real estate, they're paying out in cryptocurrency. So you can actually earn money while you're playing the game.
Second question, how possible is digital real estate going to affect real estate?
I would actually, you had some questions about that, so I'm curious from a real estate perspective, do you have any discrepancies when it comes to this digital real estate and like present real estate?
Frank with you, I still have a lot more studying to do with NFTs to really make them like a distinctive, suggestion. I've got a lot more studying to do with NFTs.
Something that I've studied when it came to Web3 and a lot of, well, that's just what this is, right? When it comes to digital real estate and Web3, one thing that they really are aiming for is seeing how it incorporates into the physical reality of being able to sell commodities and even land. And for example, if you were trying to host an open house, you could be able to first, I guess the NFT is actually the door, but Web3 is the actual platform.
Yes.
So with that, they're going to incorporate that with the physical place of being able to sell certain things without having to leave their home.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
if I wanted to show you this building, all you would need to do is put on your VR headset and
Walk into this space virtually.
possibly because you even have this NFT in the first place to work with us, to be able to see what's going on.
And a lot of people, because of the situation that happened with COVID, it's making this more accessible. So a lot of platforms and things like that are coming out with the technology, so you're able to experience that virtually.
So technically, what you're saying is, if I own 300 units in Massachusetts, and I decided to sell 150 of them physically, we kept all the NFT rights for whenever somebody wanted to do an open house. But even though I don't own the property and I'm not selling the property, I can still license.
Exactly. Oh, you just gave me a aha moment. I'm like, you could throw parties in this quote unquote empty space, but it's not empty anymore. It's being, resided in by whoever you sold it from. But now you have the rights of this virtual reality space of this land, and now it's somewhere in the virtual world that still can be used. So it's almost like double penetrating funding wise. So that didn't even come to my mind actually. So appreciate that.
This is like endless. You could think.
It's endless possibilities. Yeah.
And we're so early to it that a lot of people are still developing strategies and ways to implement NFTs. It really comes down to the tech and learning how to implement.
Absolutely.
Yep.
This is a great thing that we're doing here. If you're here, you're definitely ahead of the curve.
Right.
And
Thank
I'll see
you.
in the future.
Definite. This is where we get into the play to earn. This is what I just spoke about. Is it enables gamers to purchase and own assets throughout the game. So they have different games, like I gave, for example, Coin Hunt, Zen Run, Crypto Blades, and things like that, where you could actually play the video game in the virtual space, and they pay you in cryptocurrency for being in that space. And the more time you spend there, the more cryptocurrency you own, the more you move up the leaderboards and things like that. So it's like a social status at the same time as actually playing the game. So it's crazy that we're headed that way, but it's actually better for someone to actually have a reason to play the game instead of just sitting there for hours and earning nothing for it.
What's the games like that I'm thinking of that I mentioned to you, like not No Man's Land or Assassin's Creed?
Now,
and
RPG.
RPG. So what's that called? What does that mean? RPG.
Role-playing games is pretty much you're taking control of a player, and it's an open world scene where you can storyline, but you can do whatever you want, and you can jump back in the storyline whenever you want to actually finish the game, but you don't actually have to finish. There's a lot of people that actually don't finish the games.
Right.
They just love the entertainment throughout,
and the knowledge that's shared on these types of games. If you notice that there's games that's going to drop certain things you won't really see in your everyday TV or film, and that's why reading's essential, because there's a lot of things hidden right underneath your nose. Another way that people have been doing that and creating is through gaming. So this also gives you ability to, what I thought and created in like the metaverse and universe is that you're able to, for instance, if I had Graffiti Land, don't y'all take my ideas. If I had Graffiti Land and it's just all a bunch of graffiti everywhere around the world, all over every piece of property, and there's a spot, and I'm gonna shout out some friends on Dorchester Art Project who's named AOA Supply. They're a graffiti collective, and if I had that inside my Graffiti Land, if anybody in that digital universe or in that space, if they see, hey, it's on Dorchester Ave, I'm now creating people to travel and figure out where these places are, because you have the name of the business I just gave you, and then I have the address. It might be, Dorchester Ave in Universe Land, but when you see that and you go to Google it, now you know there's a location out there in the real world that you can go and see and be physical to and support these artists and, create that type of visual in the present world. So I see like there's so many layers that we can, enter, so to speak,
And that's when the augmented reality, the AR, is actually coming into place, because they do have applications where you can visit different parts of cities and pull up the application and put your phone there, and it shows the digital world right there in front of you. So you can see things that you wouldn't see with the naked eye just because you have that technology in your pocket. And this is where we get into minting. Now minting, this is the process within the NFT world where if you're a creator, once you go to sell your product, it's going to ask you if you want to mint it or not. Once you mint it, it directly links it to the blockchain. Once it's on the blockchain, it's there forever, and others see that it's live. Once it's live, they can buy. Once they buy it, it transfers directly to their wallet. Lazy minting, that's when the creator does not want to pay for the gas fees. Now we'll get into the gas fees and things like that, but it's pretty much just a base price as far as that goes for the creator to pay. What if he doesn't have the money, if you're just starting up, the gas fees can become expensive. So you could let the buyer know you didn't pay. It shows outside of the blockchain. Once the buyer purchases it, they actually pay for the NFT and they pay for the gas fees.
And I'm a big promoter of that, because I want artists to have full ownership of their creativity and their art. So if we have companies that are forcing artists to pay these gas fees, which are very large, and you're what we call starving artists, I don't want that language to be, used over and over, where we should now be thriving in this space. This is a new world where we can create that type of space. So we should be looking into, softwares and programs, because this isn't our, natural space. So why wouldn't they take that cut and take that overhead, essentially, so that, artists are now just worrying about being artists and not the whole business side of those things.
Question?
Yeah.
Is lazy minting applicable to NFTs?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. Like I said, you can.
That is what you're minting.
Yeah, it's pretty much the creator. Once you create your NFT, you can still post it for sale, but you're not paying the gas fees, which means it's not on the blockchain yet. Which, once the buyer buys it, they purchase the NFT, pays for the gas fees, so it's now listed on the blockchain, so it shows that they have ownership of this NFT now. And that's the biggest part of the Web3, is to show that you have the ownership. Without the gas fees paid for, you will not have ownership.
Thank you.
No problem.
Smart contracts. So smart contracts are self-executing contracts between the buyer and the seller. Well, that probably shouldn't say the buyer, but the creator and the buyer. Stored directly in a blockchain. It's trackable and it's irreversible. And it assigns ownership and manages the transferability of the NFTs. And the agreement starts automatically and reduces the need for a third party. So just think of the contracts that we have today. It's just literally saying it's digitized. It's managed by a computer, an algorithm, so to speak. It's no hand-to-hand, man-to-man. Now it's just concrete. Nobody can break this, lose it, say they didn't do it. It's etched into the coding, essentially. I don't know if you have anything you want to...
And that's the thing with the blockchain. That's why it's linked to the smart contracts. Now everyone could see who has ownership. And once you resell, it shows how many times it's been through transaction. So it goes from owner to owner, wallet to wallet. And everyone has access and it can see. So no one can say that they own an NFT without actually proving it in their wallet.
Yeah.
So basically you're saying the smart contract is like the software that shows the transactions
Yes.
and how they work?
It's almost like when you buy a car.
Similar to a
Yeah.
blockchain?
Yeah.
It's like the Carfax.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it shows, all right, so this is who had this NFT, or this is where the funds are going here and there and there, and
Yeah.
it just stays that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it shows how much they sold for each time.
Yeah.
So it shows a baseline, and normally if you buy something for $10, you're not going to sell it for $8. You're going to sell it for more. So it's going to keep growing and you're gonna
Unless
see.
you really need $8, right?
True. Royalties and payments.
Now, once we get into the royalties are the greatest thing within the NFT space. It's mainly because you set your own royalties now through the marketplace. You have the capability to choose from 5%, I've seen it all the way up to 40% of royalties. So each resale, once you create, you sell it. If someone sells your NFT later for a greater value, you get a percentage of that resale. So you want your NFTs to keep selling, and you want to create that limited space, that limited quantity, so that people keep trading and keep pushing more value within your NFTs.
Yeah, it's basically residual income.
Mhm.
Make money while you sleep income, essentially. And not a lot of us had that privilege and access. I'm a model, so being a model, if I have a commercial that's launched years later or an image that's used of me years later, they still have to pay me for my rights or my likeness of my image. So not many people, when you go to a job, it's just clock in, clock out, and that's what you're paid for. This is allowing you to get money when you're not doing anything. You could go start something else and still make money on something you've done eons ago. And something that I challenge, because our average percentage range is 5 to 10. We all know that if you're a business owner, you're never giving more than 50% of your business away to anybody. Any person will tell you that, unless you're actually just like, I'm selling my entire business and I'm going to start a whole nother career. But when you're in something that's your passion and that you plan to stay in for longevity, do not ever sell your business to someone else more than you. So as an artist, I'm stating from artist to artist is that if you're going to sell your artwork, you should be receiving the most residual and kickback, not the person who now bought it from you and plans to sell it, because you have to think about it money-wise. If you sold it for 500 here, and then that person sold it for 100,000, 5-10% is a small amount from that person who bought it off of you for 500, and they made 100,000, like minus that cut. So you have to think in the long term of this money, and you have to know how to essentially break down money. You have to understand percentage. You have to understand what does it mean to have residual. And sometimes what they're doing with language is saying, oh, it's residual, it's long term, it's always, ever, ever. But you have to think of what's the next person going to sell this for, and you never know what the capacity is going to be to something you create. You never know if you're the genius to something new. You know what I mean? So you don't want someone to leverage on something that you may not be aware of, and then they essentially just, take your shit. So I'm just gonna be real about that, and that's something I noticed when I said that. I was like, why you wouldn't do that in regular business? Why would we do this with our art, with our creativity?
That's major.
Major.
That's
So with NFTs, ownership, it belongs to who?
I believe the creator.
Okay, but on paper?
On paper, it goes through the wallet, and
You have that discretion as the creator. That's why I say the ownership should be in the creator.
Okay.
Yeah, you should be able to, you make these percentages. And I'm warning people to say, don't just take 5 to 10% of something you created and allow you can get that over and over, but why would you only want 5 to 10% of something that you ultimately created for the world to experience?
And so to clarify, is it 5 to 10% of whatever you sell it for?
the resale.
And
The
does it-
resale.
Exactly. So it's every time that it's resold, you get that set rate
Exactly.
of whatever was the new price that it had sold.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep.
Mhm.
I know are we streaming, right?
Yeah.
I think we might have questions too for those potential.
Sure, I'll look.
Yeah, let's check it out and see.
No, I appreciate that.
I thought that was a seat.
How do you go about creating an NFT? Linking it to your blockchain or linking?
Well, creating the NFT, essentially you could turn anything that you own into an NFT.
Yeah.
They have people just taking Polaroid pictures and things like that, or trips they've taken. Just because they have a name and social status, they're actually linking it to their wallet. You could go through different platforms. They have Rarible, OpenSea are some of the top platforms. They have some like Foundation for independent artists and things like that. But you go through those websites and you actually create a profile, and you just link your wallet to your profile. And once you do that, you can just post on there, and it goes through the whole process on how much you want to sell it for, what cryptocurrency you want to use, and the royalties that you want to set behind it. It's a simple process. We'll get into that. We're actually going to have more NFT workshops later, and we're going to go in more into depth on how to set up your wallet, how to set up your accounts, and actually go through the process of selling the NFT.
Gas fees.
This is gas fees. Like we spoke of earlier, Gas fees is just the compensation it costs for the energy that was required to post this NFT on the Ethereum network. It's pretty pricey right now, especially if you're posting 500,000 different NFTs as a collection. Those that's doing one-of-ones and things like that, it all goes on the price of the Ethereum network and how much you're actually posting it for. But if you see,
Yeah, it takes about 1.5 days of energy in a household. So if you understand that if you're running lights all throughout your household, it's literally a day's worth to exchange on this marketplace. So that's where no one's really talking and educating people about this space. So, you know, there's always light and dark to every new thing that comes about. And one of the things that I think we can focus on, especially when we're caring about our environment, climate change, and everything that's happening in our world, in our present world, we have to be mindful of like what we're doing on this space and how can we make sure that this is being cared for and minimizing the amount of energy that it's used, because it's technology. We all think because we can't see it, it's not doing damage and harm, but CO2 emissions and so forth. So we have to be mindful of how we're, you know, networking on the internet and stuff like that. So yeah, we're at our end. I appreciate you guys coming here. I love it. I thank you for it.
I think it was 2 hours.
I know it was supposed to be 2 hours, but I didn't think that. I expected more people to have a lot more questions, and we wanted to break people. Oh, word!
No, nice.
So this
Nice
honestly,
way.
it's open doors for that. But I also wanted to at some point break up and challenge each other to figure out what do you currently do in your regular day-to-day life that you could make money from or do in the NFT space and world. What would be provided from you in the digital universe? You don't want to be a Kodak and then don't go into mirrorless or, you know, digital cameras and stuff like that. So who are you today and how do you see yourself in this new universe? Because whether we like it or not, to be frank, it's shifting. And that's what we tend to do as people. We don't want to learn because it's foreign, we're uncomfortable by it, it's something we don't understand. But if we take the time to learn it now, then we won't be behind the curve and then we'll be able to see the oyster that it is, you know what I mean? So just, you know, for example, my cousin owns a hair salon in Cambridge, and I showed her ways that she can go into this digital world, whether she's doing hair consultations or, you know, showing people what different hairstyles would look like on someone. As people of color, we don't always get to see, you know, the types of hairstyles that we can have on our hairs because we aren't around that technology and the technology is not made for us. So there's just other opportunities that she can get into that she never knew was possible for her. Or even just taking a virtual reality of her salon, you know, that was redesigned by a company. So, you know, getting the people to access and see where it's at. If she's on the digital platform universe, someone in China can be looking at it and like, oh my God, I don't know how to do my natural hair in this way. And this, I love this lady, I love her environment. I want to go take a trip to her space, you know? So there's just layers that we can see possibility in. So yeah.
and that's where we're gonna challenge people that's online and things like that to come up, like she said, with your plan or what you're into. And we can answer the questions online, the comments, and those that's here, we will go through it with you, and we will address each situation, and we'll continue this discussion.
Yeah. Do you have any questions?
Yes,
Yeah.
First of all, I want to say thank you.
Word, thank you.
Because this is dope. Like I said, we are very early to this technology, but the conversation is powerful. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is technology. This is an opportunity to really get ahead like 10 years, 20, 30 years down the line. And,
It's okay.
you know, you know, and I welcome this, you know, I appreciate it. How you doing? You know, so my question was what led us here? Like, you know, like what
Right.
how did we get here, and two, where do we see ourselves going through this? So what you similarly said too, where you were like, where do we see ourselves applying this? You know, because I think as individuals, the conversation goes beyond the metaverse. It actually goes towards our real lives now. Like, this is the future, but some people can't fathom the future. And if you can, you're probably really excited because you know what you can do and what you're doing right now. And conversations like this is what creates it. So as individuals who have different skills and live different lives, I'm excited to see how we can all implement this technology as melanated people, people of color from all over the world, internationally and locally. So, you know, thank you. my question is, how do we see ourselves implementing these technologies with what was presented?
And
Yeah.
the main thing with that is building a community, is building a base. Once you get people to come together for a common goal, like we were saying, for a cause or just to support the creator, is the best way to start this up. So if you see your friend that actually has art projects or music or real estate, things like that, you support them in this world. And that's gonna be the key to supporting each other to actually help this grow. Because without each other, it won't go anywhere.
If you think about it, it's like the new ancient is another way, a term I see it, is because we know Susu, we know cooperative economics, we know like the cycle of, we say it's the Jewish way, we know how to, cycle money in communities, but we don't know how that actually is physically with us. Like us, we don't do that as often as other people in other groups. And how we can showcase and how we can get into that is NFT, where like, if you notice, NFT is always, it's showing you the pattern of where money's coming from and going, and it's allowing to make sure that people are all getting fed through this cycle of this piece of art or this place, real estate, of this, company and space. So it's doing things that we've already have innate in us. We already understand how to do it. We do that by connecting with each other. And when we keep saying community, Discords and all these chat rooms and private spaces for exclusivity, it's really what we've been doing all our lives. We're building our team, our tribe, our groups. It's just now moving it into a digitized space.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just taking the things we've been bred into us and what's natural for us to be here and be able to do it tenfold, That's how I see the NFT world going, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said,
Is there a, oh, go ahead.
good question. You said support, like what are some examples of how people can support creators in this?
Within, like for me personally, just follow along the Discord. Actually help grow the channels.
Yeah.
Show that support, show the numbers, because once people see numbers, they'll be more likely to buy. And once they buy, that money could be transferred back into the community and help the community grow as well. So
And it's limiting the watered down of people's artwork. Because if you think about it, exclusivity, if I'm only selling one piece of artwork and we have a community of people, now we're making it shown in multiple eyes, essentially, and then I only have it. So now more people are aware of it, which you don't really get to see unless you're going to a museum or, someone has it in their house and you don't get access to that person, so to speak. We're not in the same groups or same settings, but now this is allowing people to see this artwork more, I guess, accessible, but then now it's creating that level of exclusivity. And it's like, hey, now it's worth some value because I have this group and sea of people that want something from me, and I only produce 2 to 3 things right now. But if you guys support, I'm able to produce more things, but then I'm not rushing and running to create something and giving half effort or, low quality. I'm making sure it's going to be the best to this individual because I want longevity out of it. That's the best thing out of NFT. We want it to keep going, and you want something that's going to be worth while over time. Like music, I've realized this generation is going back to listening to old music. So things are classic. We want to create classics. We want to create things, that we can listen to and hear and see years on from now, create legacy and so to speak through things. So
I like that.
yeah, I do too. I like that question.
Yeah,
I want to ask my question.
Go ahead.
So artists are essentially business owners, right?
Absolutely.
Is there information about success rates for NFTs? Because this is a lot of stuff to look up. So
It
is
is.
there like a one main platform to check in on something?
that's the part right now.
Exactly.
Since it's so early, you have to do research.
Okay.
And this is essentially what we're trying to create, is a home for that. Like Farm Club community, we want to be able to create a space where we're educating and putting everything in one place so that we're all able to tap in, talk to each other, learn, build with each other. Because to believe it or not, if we wanted to go to an NFT seminar right now in New York, it was happening about a month ago, it was $500 a ticket. Who of us really has that disposable income to go and learn the things that are not in our face right now, or we don't even think we care about, or it's not important to us right now, because it doesn't change our day-to-day life, but it will at some point. But we don't have the access and the privilege to be in those spaces to know what's about to come. And that's why we always fall or flat on our face, because we're too late to this rodeo show. Like that's what the issue is.
It's what she would say if we weren't here right now. But we are, so.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's all an
Exactly.
investment.
It is.
It's how can you invest in someone else and help them grow in their company? You don't need to sell in a store or anything like that anymore, because this is making it more accessible for the whole world to see your product
Right.
without having to go to a physical place. And you don't have to worry about shipping, none of that. It cuts out all that cost.
It's true.
So you're looking at an easier, accessible way to sell your merchandise and sell more of it at limited quantities, so your price continues to grow at the same time.
So are NFTs true virtual presence?
It's
It could be.
It could be. It's in what they call the metaverse right now through the Oculus glasses and things like that, where you can actually see in that digital space. But they do have what's called utility NFTs, where it's linked to both. So say, like personally, I'm gonna have where you could purchase a hoodie, and the hoodie is gonna be a digital version as well as I mail you a physical version.
Mhm. So your avatar, essentially, like your think of everything that's here needs to be online. So if you have yourself in this space, I can rock my sweater there, but I also have a physical one when I go out into the regular world.
So once they see you in the real world with it, they know that you're a part of this, because it's limited on who actually has access to this hoodie, because they see it in the virtual space, and once they see it in the physical, they know, oh, he's a part of this club, because
And
it's
that's
not
the
sold
point
in
of the
stores.
NFT is to limit access
Yes,
and make it.
it's on that portion, because if you want the price to continue to grow, you have to make it limited. Because if
Right,
it's
that's what artists do, one-on-one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you make it more accessible as far as that goes, the price will never change, because people can know they always can go back and get it. So you have to create a limited quantity in order for that price to continue to grow. That's for the creator, and that's what she was saying. Why would you actually limit yourself as far as that goes? That goes into the same.
But I'll be devil's advocate. We have games. Everybody has to get dressed in their game. So if you want to come out with a pair of sneakers, think of Nike and Adidas.
What?
Their regular generic check or 3 stripes, they can give that to every avatar. They're not caring about making it exclusive, because they want the masses to have that. So if you create something that's, and you got to think, it's economics. So it's, access and ability. So if you create a sneaker and that there's millions of people on this game or this universe, then millions of people are buying it at the dollar you give it instead of the $300. But that's because you want most people to be having it and want it to be common on this gaming space. So I challenge all artists, like if you're creating t-shirts, you're creating, figures and whatever it is, think about the skins, the utilities it's called. Every avatar needs to have all these objects, like think of what supplies your home.
Can you do that with NFTs?
Yeah.
No, I thought it
Yeah,
was
if
like
you
that.
want to make a
No.
plate, a coffee
Next,
maker,
next,
like
next.
No, you can keep creating.
It's endless.
It's endless,
So,
and
But
that's
is it like custom,
yeah.
endless?
yes.
Yeah,
You-
if
you
you
create.
want that to be custom in that way, yeah. Or you
That-
can make a generic coffee pot, and everybody in their home in the metaverse needs a coffee pot because they
Mm-hmm.
want their coffee avid drinkers. It's a thing. It's a wave. Like it's a community. They want coffee in their house. When you
Mm-hmm.
come over, you can offer your digital friends coffee.
Is-
Yo, it's just
Can I do
everything's
that with
possible.
My little real estate though, like let's say I have a store and I make shoes, right?
Mhm.
Can I have multiple NFTs, but the blockchain is saying that somebody is in ownership
Correct.
of said item.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's one person at a time.
No, if you make that item one of one, or you can make it a collectible.
Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a shoe and you want to sell 5 pairs of that shoe, it's a collectible one.
So I could just be Nike and give a bunch of stuff out,
Mhm.
NFTs, and the price is the price, and then the
Yep.
blockchain is the blockchain.
Correct.
The blockchain, like
Holds it.
the network that holds all of it. It's the data that holds it. Like
Right.
the blockchain's like the internet, and then that allows you to create NFTs, and then you'll see like the history of the NFT, who has it, how much it costs, like what I'm saying, when it was sold. So I think right now we're just kind of discussing strategies in terms of how to promote your NFTs, how to sell them, and why they would get bought and kept.
Correct.
Right.
Like I said, we're gonna hold more NFTs going to further discussion on the strategies, like you said, to take, to advance, to sell, to buy, and things like that, and show you exactly how to set everything up as well.
Okay, so keep an eye out for an email?
Oh yeah, definitely.
yes,
If you
yes.
scan this as well,
Yeah, if you scan this
if you
QR
scan
code,
that, it will give you our Discord, links to our stuff,
Yeah,
things like
all
that.
that. Yeah.
And that's like what the beauty is like, it gets real scary, you know, because I think about like, what am I gonna say to my grandmother and my aunts, and they're all like, I don't, some of them don't even deal with banks. So it's just interesting that now we can have these things that just makes things more accessible, more access, and I challenge that because what are we doing with the people who don't have phones? What are we doing with the people who don't even have current dollar bills and currency in that way? And now we're going into tokens. What are we gonna do with that? I'm concerning myself with the people who are homeless, who, you know, disenfranchised and, you know, just etched out of this.
But that's why I guess there's a few things that sparks my mind. That's why they
Nice.
say the rich will get richer and the poor will get poorer.
Yep.
So if you're here, definitely don't sleep on this opportunity to learn. Secondly, but I think more people have phones than they do have bank accounts.
That's
So-
true.
So even the youth have a chance to really like
Yep.
use their creativity and their mindset to really implement this technology.
Yeah.
And the youth right now is the one that's really pushing this way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because people 35 and above, they are still
Hesitant.
hesitant
You know?
and not believing that this is the future. And the youth right now, they're cashing out and making a lot of money off of it.
It's actually a
So,
good thing that they're like stuck on their phones because, like you said, like it's the future for them.
mhm.
So the fact that they're always on their phones actually might be a good thing because, you know, we implement this type of information for them and, you know, just show them the ins and outs and how to actually do it. It'll be easier for them.
Yeah, and we're fearful of people being glued to their phones, but
Right.
that's why I'm challenging this space. That's why I want, you know, the people that we're here and we want to have connectivity. We want to share space with people and we want to, you know, feel that love. So if we know that the youth are so drilled into this, we got to be the makers and the shakers of this space. We got to be able to create that dialogue and create that space and show them what's possible and challenge them on that. You know what I mean? So it's like if we leave it to the big dogs and the big people who have the money and the bread to, you know, just get the access out there, they'll throw them anything.
Yep.
And we got to be mindful. That's why I think of, you know, therapists, spiritual people, and you know, leaders in our community. We have to be the first people on this space so that we're creating a navigation, a journey for them to be on and know where to go, so that we're not just letting our youth to just go to the wayside and be glued and they're lazy and they're not doing anything. Like, let's get production out of people. Let's get them to, you know, to build and connect. Like, how are we gonna do that? Who knows? We might end up being in a world where everything's boxed off and we're running on, like, you know, what's that movie and that show called?
Matrix?
No,
Same thing, right?
what was it called? It's
Yeah.
Black something. But-
Black Mirror?
Black Mirror, yeah, and you're like biking or something to get coins and live life. Like, you know,
Yeah.
these things aren't just coming out of thin air. I think film is always like a reflection of what's to come. It's not like it's just coming out of someone's imagination. Someone in that field has probably seen something that's about to come, because all things that we're seeing now has been thought of eons ago. When, you know,
And my
Bitcoin.
my personal view is either you're going to be the person with the glasses or the person without them. And you right now is going to be the dividing line of which side you're going to jump on. So everyone could become a creator. Everyone could actually earn and make a living from this with, like she said, residual income, where you don't have to do much after you post. So it's that fine line right now where things are transitioning over, but we are ahead of the curve. It's not too late as far as to join. It's not too late as far as to start creating. Any type of ideas you have, it's going to catch
trust
on.
me, it needs to be there.
It's going to catch on. It's
One thing that I've loved is
Just you bringing food.
Oh, he was supposed to.
One thing I do love though is like people who are from the Web2 space or like not even, who are like completely outside of this tech conversation, when they bring questions, because it's so necessary. Like it's like their need, their value. I'm saying like these ideas and questions that we don't think about bring us new opportunities to implement this in a better way. You know what I'm saying? Like, that question that you have is actually, you know, I appreciate it because it helps
Yeah.
us get further on all of it.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, you're challenging us. Like,
Yes.
why is this necessary? Do you really think it's viable? Like, are we gonna really?
I want to learn more.
Yeah, it's such a new space that everyone is continually learning. Like, I'm still learning, she's
Right.
still learning. It's such,
I just don't want my
It's the
people
curiosity that
to be
kinda
clueless.
drives- Right, like drives this, and
I'm curious, but I'm also like, why am I gonna buy something on the internet? Like, why would I buy my house online?
Hey, that's exactly, I mean,
Why would I?
But
so you don't have to.
you look,
Yeah.
yeah,
I have to buy my house online.
well, you never know
Yeah.
as far as that goes
You had
because,
you left out when you asked the question and kind of thought of something like, for instance, you have a house online, you have a physical house. So you have a house in Dorchester and you also minted an NFT of that property, so you can actually see the inside, outside, all around the property. It's yours online, it's yours. And you decide to sell the house, but you keep the rights of the NFT, you keep the virtual aspect of it, right? So when you have 3 buyers down the line, so the person you sold it to, the person they sold it to, the person they sold it to, they may not want to come out, they may not want to do an open house. The house, they may not.
Very exclusive.
Pardon me?
Well, that is pretty exclusive.
Yeah, so I mean.
The incentive for a buyer is
Mhm.
very exclusive.
Yeah.
Or even in the sake of like, let's say for example, let's say if I was wanting to buy a house in Costa Rica, right?
Right, you're not there.
And I'm not trying to catch a flight to go to Costa Rica to find a house that I don't want because of some reason, right? I could have someone who sold me an NFT to allow me to be able to see this house that's been replicated in the metaverse. So now I can see what the house looks like on an open tour, like an open house tour with the real estate agent out in Costa Rica virtually. So I can connect with them and find out, okay, this is the square footage of it. It looks like this. My neighbors, I have trees, I have water here. You know, I have like an exclusive virtual walkthrough to be able to see this property that I could purchase also, not just physically, but also in the metaverse.
Potentially in real life or metaverse solely?
Both.
Both,
Actually,
yeah.
That's the utility.
But what he was getting at is that if you sold your house in the real world and you had it in the blankness of in the metaverse, like it's the empty open house version, that house that you own there is a place that you can host things at. That's a place you can sell it on the metaverse. It's double penetration of income, so to speak, is what we're saying. It's like you may have sold it here, but
While having the sole rights.
exactly
For
digitally.
the NFT.
Right, you have the sole rights for the NFT, so as you were saying, if your house is in Dorchester, and let's say he's in Costa Rica and he's trying to move to Dorchester, if he has the Oculus, technology, this is, correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, he
Yeah.
has Oculus technology, and if you already sold the house 8 years ago, there was already 3 other new buyers, but, these buyers heard that there's someone from Costa Rica want to see the place, but they can't actually make it there. Oh, well, I heard someone, I don't know your name, but I heard
Kara,
Kara?
Mhm.
Alright, I heard Kara has,
what's your name?
Eric,
You good, Sonia?
nice to meet you. So I heard Kara has the rights for this NFT for this property. If you'd like to see it, I can reach out to her. You can get paid. You don't even own the house anymore. You're still getting paid. Yeah, I'll sell you the NFT. How about that? I'll sell it to you and I want to keep a percentage of it. You can sell it to someone and still continue to collect your percentage off of it, even though you don't own the physical property anymore.
Mhm.
So put it like this. You basically be like, regardless if you buy a house wherever you buy it in the United States, you're gonna always have to pay taxes on it. It's a tax collector. You will forever be the tax collector. No matter how many times the house
Yep.
is bought and sold, the NFTs bought and sold, you'll forever be able to collect on it as a tax collector for that property. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So are
def-
gas fees like taxes?
That's like development cost.
Not,
Yeah.
not in totality. but-
Right.
But
If you wanna
Yeah, they'll
label
tax
it,
you.
yeah, if you wanna label it that way, yes.
Okay.
And at the same time, like we were saying earlier, say your house right now, you may not think it's worth anything in the metaverse or the NFT space, but
Might
if a
end up being
celebrity
worth more.
buys something right down the street from you, the price of that value in the metaverse is gonna go up just because someone owns it in this virtual space.
Zoning. You know what I mean? Like, so if you're
So-
Dorchester, not everybody's going to want to live in Dorchester because of what we see in the zoning laws and what's happened in our area and blah, 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 and if it's good for kids. But if you have your house in whatever universe digitally and it's on some other block, like he's saying, with a completely different vibe and feeling and access to people, that's valued at a completely different price than your Dorchester home.
I've actually seen
Does
this.
somebody already own Buckingham Palace?
See, and that's
That's-
so that's the thing we were talking about. So you know how NFT, we're going to Web3, and once you own a URL, it is yours to keep. There are people who are savages out here, and you
Just
have
buying
to think
domain names.
of those kind of people. They'll just buy a domain name. So if you know a popular company, I'm not suggesting people to do this because karma's real, but if you want it to be really shady like that, you can go get the nft.x and own it. And trust me, that company is going to need that name.
Mhm.
But now with the ethical way to do it now is that's a bargaining chip now.
Exactly.
So now you could be like, hey, I got your domain name,
Mm-hmm.
let's work.
Mhm.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
Instead of being like, all right.
You can create the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of saying like, give me
Yeah, you're gonna have-
$1 million.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
want people to abuse that, but if we understand what happened when Web 2 came out, that's what happens.
have-
When we're all looking up our
Yeah.
businesses,
You have leverage.
Same thing.
So once you sit down at the table, they have something, you have something that they want, and you can present something that you're interested in as far as promotions or anything like that to actually help your brand grow. So
So it's like domains.
yeah,
Well, yes,
they have domains as well.
It's not the same thing necessarily, but, potentially as far as negotiations go. It's like a domain.
Well, once you purchase the domain within Web3, you're the owner. You don't have to pay for it every year.
yeah, GoDaddy doesn't exist for you. Namecheap, HostGator, none of these like hosting spaces are needed for you anymore. You
So
own it, and
once
it's
you
yours.
purchase it, that's it. It's yours, and it shows in your wallet that you're the owner.
So like for instance, Web 2, you buy your domain next year. If you don't have it like that, your business didn't go well, and you didn't rebuy it, someone else gets it, and then that's how you can see your value of your domain name, because now you've created movement content on this website. When someone sees that, they'll go pick it up, and then you'll need to fight for your website again.
Okay.
And now your website is actually tied to your wallet address, which is actually
Exactly.
how you get paid.
Yep.
Correct.
So imagine that. Like, imagine I haven't seen it yet. Well, I've actually seen it, but it's not really common yet in the actual space of this crypto world that we're living in, or the blockchain. Let's say that. Where people are using their web address and they're using it as a domain name. So instead of using, I think we'll get there within time. You guys will see what we're talking about, what they're presenting here today.
On the Unstoppable domain,
Yeah.
I actually have a couple right now. Purchase, they actually have a link on there.
Mm-hmm.
Once Web3 is fully released, they're gonna let you just start up your website directly on Web3 just because you purchase at no additional fees.
Yeah.
So you're gonna
Everyone's
have your
gonna have to
website,
shift.
whatever it is, .nft, like she said, .x, .888. They have different ones that you can choose from, and the price is different. Just depends on the length of your name. So if it's 1 or 2 characters, it's gonna be more expensive if it's 30 characters. So you know how they say the less the better as far as that goes, more catchy, things like that.
Yeah.
That's what their dependence on, and like Nike and just some of those top brands, those names are way more expensive right now because they know the value of those are going
Yep.
to be expensive once they look to buy it. So it just depends on where you're headed and what you're trying to produce. That those NFT domains are accessible right now, and you will have a website attached to it soon.
Yeah, I suggest anyone who has a business already just
Look
go
into
and
it.
get them, especially now, because we all know like how Zoom was. Zoom was accessible and easy, and weren't capped on your time, but COVID happened, everything became popular, and everybody needs to be on Zoom and those types of platforms. Now you gotta pay in a different way, or you get less time. You get about an hour or maybe 50 minutes, on the space for free.
Any questions?
So-
And you say you can purchase that website on Unstoppable?
Yep.
Unstoppable domain.
We have any questions?
So I think Albert posed a post. He was saying that they're not talking about the other side of people losing money, getting hacked.
The security of it.
Yes, the
That-
security of it.
that
So
would be-
You have some people in the security side of it.
Yeah, that will be in the next workshop that we're hosting. We just want to do the base introduction to getting people introduced to it, getting their feet wet. Just pretty much the foundation of what you're looking to get into with the NFT space. Now with the security portion, we will get further into that because like you said, there's hackers everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's our people that's creating fake pages, what they call rug pulls, where they literally start something and
Take it all out.
take all the money. Once people start funding, start buying NFTs and things like that, they snatch all the money and don't actually create anymore. So it's going to be that on both
Silver
sides.
lining of that is just showing you that if that's a question, then that means that's a space that needs to be had. So
Yep.
if you're in a tech space and you're in the data space or you're in the, security space, this is a job for you. This is something you could create for yourself. Start your own business of this type of security because it's needed. Like whatever you see here and that's current here is going to be needed in Web3 world.
And right now, I actually spoke to a few people. They say security coding, it's one of the
huge.
highest domain jobs right now. it's huge right now, just because everything is headed towards the digital space with currency, websites, like I said, NFTs, games.
Yeah.
Everything needs that security level, and it's nothing that's out there that's impenetrable right now. So they need something that's in place, and like she said, we need to create more. And like I said, this is a space for us to get into it early, and people that actually have experience in coding, they can look into getting certifications into the cybersecurity world and actually probably get paid more
Way
than
more than what they're.
what they're doing currently. So
Are you guys familiar with like coding as well, or like Solidity? Like, so basically, right, when it comes to the smart contracts, these are all this software is just code,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
I think people who are trying to transition from Web 2 to Web 3, they don't really know how to code for anything, right?
Yeah.
But they do like money. So, so they're gonna create these products and do all this and get with the incentive of getting paid and being successful, which is great. But that security aspect of learning how to create it, once you know how to create, you can't really be taken from it.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, this foundation of what you're introducing here is amazing, because people need to get the general scope of what it is, why, and now how to protect it.
Exactly. I tell people all the time, when I think of things, it sounds really crazy, but you have to think like a thief, you have to think like a lazy person, you have to think like a snake in a garden. You have to think of the ways that people are going to try to take something from you, abuse you, use you, because if you're able to think in that way and protect yourself, then you're not going to be able to be penetrated and removed from space or things taken from you. So if you're already ahead of the curve, if you're thinking like these people, and that protects you, so to speak. Like, it's not bad to say, but you need to know how to do these things. Or at least find some friends that do and
Yeah.
make them part of your team.
Exactly.
Exactly. So,
Exactly.
yeah, so thank you. I mean, like, we can just
No,
chill and
thank
stuff.
you.
Everyone's done in here, right? How do we stop it?
This is a tech-friendly course, man. You guys-
Oh, I meant the
No,
live thing. This is all
live.
new.